back. Hopefully that'll correct that. Say something now, Karis.
Hello.
There, it's picking it up. For whatever reason, I have to restart my Discord to get it to pick up on my OBS software. Nice Star Trek reference. If I'm not wrong, I might be wrong on that front.
Well, the second one is actually a Batman reference.
Oh,
But
Batman.
The third one is Star Trek.
Okay, so yeah, so we're waiting on the server to restart, but Karis is my co-host, and he's been helping me by handling a lot of the voice comms the last few podcasts, guys, because of my difficulties with prolonged speaking. So that and this my stutter wreaks havoc with when I try to get into in-depth stuff. But hopefully everyone's having a good one. Looks like servers back live.
Yeah, Techno just before Anna Derrick's there put it in your chat. Techno told me it was back up, so he was down there in his room doing something. I think
probably playing mad scientist on this server, as he does do quite a bit of stuff.
Yeah, I think he had to electronically feed the hamsters.
The hamsters always got to be fed, or maybe they needed to throw another hamster in there. The old one probably died.
Yeah.
Those hamsters
you can find it if you look hard enough on it's in Thunder Mountain, Todd. You can find the hamster graveyard. It's in a really remote place in Thunder Mountain, but you can find it, and you can pay tribute to all the hamsters who have come before.
Wouldn't want to waste the time. But I do want to thank everybody for tuning in. I am gonna mute my dashboard alerts, guys, because I don't want alerts playing while we're trying to talk, because it's annoying as all get out. But I'm gonna turn the floor over to Mr. Karis, and I'll try to get my statements out in short order, but pretty much this podcast is open to general discussion about warband leading. So for those of you who have warband led before, or from guilds that have knowledge of warband leading, would love to hear your thoughts and suggestions to pass on to new people that are possibly interested in leading, what encouragement you might give them, and or ideas on ways to maybe change the way the campaigns unfold, because something has to give. The current way things are going, it is not fun for anybody. It turns into a blob fest, and then people get frustrated and either log out or go do other stuff, or it just turns into a farming simulator. So cares all yours.
Well, once again, for those listening, I appreciate it, and let me again restate why am I here. And as Tom Monra said, I come in every week. This is his podcast. This is the Toth Monra podcast. I just come in every week to try to help the guy out because A, he deserves it, and it just makes it a little bit easier on him if he does not have to do all the talking. So I'm happy to do it, and I hope you guys, will stick around and come up with some questions. And Cosimo says, count me in. I've led before. I think, do you want to go ahead? Let me just ask you, Todd, do you want to go ahead and get into the conversation that you and I were having just a few moments ago?
I'll go ahead and bring it. I do have one key. I have a couple of different things, but this is one idea that's been floating around for a while. This is pertaining to warband leads. What would you guys think of an incentive program for warband leaders? Meaning that anyone that decides to create a warband, there would be a minimum requirement, meaning you couldn't just make a 6-man warband and get this. You would actually have to have anywhere from 12 to 15 average numbers to trigger this, but you would, as a warband lead, you would be given basically a mission and a list of objectives that you and your warband would have to achieve across multiple zones, not just one. And if you achieve those objectives, then you get an additional bonus as the warband lead. The warband itself is profiting from, everything they would normally do along the way. War crest, renowns, kills, whatever, taking objectives, and so forth. And say one warband leader couldn't finish the run, they pass lead, that the new person would then basically inherit that task. It would then pop up for them to continue it. So that way, it does, it doesn't just disappear. So whoever takes over randomly, or if by design, say, one person hands off lead to a second, they have to take off, they would then pick up that task. The idea is to promote the fights moving through the zones and not the blob fests. What would you guys think of introducing that concept of mission objectives? And it would not be the same set of objectives for everyone. It would, so no two would have the same thing. That way, to try to help break the Zerg.
Okay, on the surface, and again, Anna Derricks is in, and Cosmo are both in making comments, and we appreciate that here at the Top RoR Podcast. And let's see, but give me a moment, guys. Give me a moment, and I will come back to what is being said in the chat, because on the surface, this is, I think, Rubius's idea. On the surface, I think it's a good idea, and it has potential. But also, just like anything else that's ever been implemented into this game, it would also have the potential for either abuse or simply not accomplishing the goal that it was designed to accomplish. So, my initial impression is, I would think it would have to be based on some sort of system. Like, you have a quest giver quote, right? You have a guy, just like a quest giver, an NPC. You go to him, and the warband leader clicks on him, and it assigns one of, say, 6 different missions for the zone. So you can have up to 6 different warband leaders go and choose 6 different missions to accomplish. And from listening to you, Todd, that's kind of the impression that I get, that would be sort of the underlying framework, right? So that each warband would have a different goal to accomplish in line of the reward, thus encouraging warbands to operate separately in different parts of the zone. And now thinking about what you were talking about when we were off mic and what you said just now, that's kind of how that was kind of the feel that I got, right?
Uh,
That the missions would have to be separate, right?
yeah, that's the general idea of what I've heard discussed and what I've been thinking concerning with the PvP uh, idea I've been tinkering with. It
Okay.
is to help is to break the blob up, and as far as I don't know if putting in it at a quest NPC would be a good idea so much as I like the idea of that it would automatically could just give a random quest directly to the warband leads. Like as soon as you
Okay.
become
Yeah.
a
Well,
war,
that would.
that way
That,
it puts it there instead of it being, as Tosh just pointed out, something that just simply gets ignored at an NPC.
well, that would be fine too. I mean, we're talking about an idea that hasn't been implemented, so uh, it's not like any of us know what all the details, all the exact details would be. But but that would be fine too if it's randomly assigned when the warband enters the zone or whatever. Um, and again, on the surface, just like Anna Derek said, and Cosmo both said, Cosmo says, I've been talking about warband lead perks forever. I like the progress you've made on the idea. And Anna Derek says that would be good. Would that make people not want low level? Well, okay, I'll come back to that question about the low levels in the group. But the flip side of the coin is in assigning these goals is the opposing side, either side, if they chose to, could simply ignore all that and use it as an excuse or use it as an opportunity, I suppose. Opportunity is a better word, to go out and just hunt down the individual war bands. Um, and that is an ideal that has precedent on the server dating back to these city sieges when city sieges first came out, and you had all the queue dodging, you had the pre-made war bands that would sit around for 25 minutes and wait for the last 5 minutes to queue up so that they could sort of guarantee that they were going to get a group they knew they could beat. And I think the potential for that sort of abuse would exist here as well. Is you would have, okay, there's 3 warbands running around on side A. Well, let's just all group up and hunt them down one at a time because they're doing this, this warband lead stuff. And so it, I guess the point I'm making is I like the idea, and I'm not trying to fault anyone. I'm not trying to fault Rubius or anybody else who is looking into this. But with in the time that I've been on the server, the experience I have on the server, I just know that whatever is done, whatever is implemented, someone will find a way to abuse. How are you going to deal with that?
That's true. There's always gonna be people that look for ways around stuff. I mean, to some degree, there's never gonna be a full way. There's never gonna be a perfect full way to foolproof system to be able to introduce something that people won't figure a workaround. The only thing I could say is that say they do implement something along these lines, if people know that that's a possibility, then as a warband leader, plan in the back of your head, hey, there's going to be predator groups that are going to be waiting. Use that knowledge to your advantage and plan ahead. If you know they're going to be waiting, be ready for it.
I think well, let me, Tosh is in here, and as you pointed out, and I have an idea. But before I introduce my idea, let me back up. Because I want to address the other part of what Anna Derek said first, and then I want to address something that Tosh said. But Anna Derek says, but but would that make people not want low levels in their group so they could finish it without worry of a boaster? I see that as, I mean, that's a legitimate question, certainly, but I see it as one of those sort of either or. I think, I mean, really, I think the answer to that question will be yes and no. There would be some warband leaders who might not want to take a level 22 Knight of the Blazing Sun just because he's level 22 or whatever, and then there would be others that wouldn't really care because Bolster is pretty, Bolster can be pretty tough. Certain classes really benefit. Okay, commercials are up. Hang on.
Yeah, they're up on one channel, just not on the other, because I am multi-streaming to my kick channel too. You can post a link to it if you want, Karis.
I'll get it in a minute. Oh man.
I don't know that part, Red. Give me a minute for the Twitch ad commercial break to end, and then we'll see about answering. I had a guy from my Kick channel chat, ask a question.
Yeah, well, I'll finish my point. I'll finish the point I was making. And
We're back live.
we're back.
Yep.
Okay. All right. So just to finish up real quick with Anna Derrick's point, I think it's an either or proposal on the low level groups. I think some warband leaders wouldn't care, others would. It's just one of those things that players would have to work around. And Tosh brings up a good point, but you have to take it in context of the same stuff that I say. Tosh has been on the server for a long time, and therefore he has seen a lot of what has gone on here as far as changes that have been implemented, how people have reacted to those changes, how people have tended to play the game over time. He's been on long enough that he has a good, solid history and all that stuff too. So, and I agree with his underlying point here that a lot of people would ignore the whole thing just because they would earn less in forms of kill and renown. And again, that would be something that would I have to be worked around, I suppose. Warband leaders. There would also be people, I think, who would resent the fact that an award was going only to the warband leader, regardless of what that reward might be. And Tosh again says a little bit later, says when a warband can go into a lake set near a war camp or some point on the map and just sit there and kill anyone who arrives and go 70 kills you whine, that they would volunteer leave that farm to do some OVR quest. I'm guessing no. Yeah, that kind of goes hand in hand with a comment I was making about um, regardless of what system someone implements, someone else will find a way to abuse it. Uh, so okay, Nuliar's here. If the warband leader gets a special reward, it might end up being warband leaders. Well, see, that's one of the pro arguments, right, Nuliar? That's one of the pro arguments that if the warband leader, the guy who's doing uh, a lot of the work, it would be a motivator for more people to become warband leaders. And there are some groups still in the game. There are some groups still in the game who, would go into an organized warband and wouldn't mind at all the fact that what they were doing was helping the warband leader get something and accomplish a goal. There are still players on the server who would, who would see that as a righteous thing to do, right? And go along and try to help out. There are others who wouldn't, but that's going to be true regardless of what you do. Okay, Tosh, you had something else,
One
another point you wanted to bring in?
one of the guys in my kick chat brought up a point, and it's similar to what somebody just said. It said, "What about the people that follow the warband leader? Shouldn't they get something?" The answer is they're already getting renowned in war crests like they normally would. The whole point is to incentivize more people to want to be warband leaders, to get more leaders out there instead of it just being the same set few, and then you have a bunch of leaderless pugs that basically break down and just mob mentality follow, like, okay, well, he's well known, we're gonna follow him. But once that person's logged off, it falls apart.
True. And there's also the factor of, a lot of time war bands come up for very specific purposes, like a fort,
Yeah,
and the only reason the war band even exists is just to play in the fort. And as soon as the fort is over, the war band immediately dissolves.
yeah.
How would that be factored in? And now I agree. There's a couple of comments here. Cosmo says there are pros and cons, but I do think something needs to be done. I mean, I agree, Cosmo. I do, because anything that would encourage more people to play, I suppose, or anything that would encourage more participation, fundamentally I support. There are, of course, just bugs that have to be are issues that would have to be addressed. And Derek says do something with warband leaders and a main assist.
Well,
That's an idea that could be bounced off Rubius.
the whole
And
idea of this, getting to add to what Karis is saying, so Karis continue, is the whole idea is come up with further ideas to try to flesh it out. Continue, Karis. Sorry.
yeah, exactly right. And Nuclear makes a good point. Leading people around for hours is taxing, unless a large percentage of those people are very good players. I have one suggestion. They could attach a title to it as one of the rewards that, like a warband leader can get, a very special title. And one suggestion for that title would be cat herder, right? You could get a title that said cat herder. You have led 25 war bands. You have earned the title cat herder. That would be a good one. And Nuliar also says the war band itself is getting a structured and organized experience. The alternative is a solo or join a mindless war band. And again, Nuclear, that's true. I see your point. I mean, the point I think Nuclear is making, everyone, in that the warband leader may be the one who can achieve whatever the particular reward is, whatever the particular reward is. But as both you and Toth have said, the people in the warband are getting a reward just as usual. They're getting, and maybe one thing that could be done, just again, I'm just spitballing, I'm just throwing something out here, that perhaps if you have a warband where the warband leader is engaged in attempting to achieve the goals that would be associated with this program, then the people in the warband would get a plus 25% renown, our experience, right? Just as if they had taken one of the potions of acclaim. Okay, so everybody in the warband that's out trying to achieve these goals would get a plus 25% renown gain, just as if they had taken a potion of acclaim. Now that's just an idea. I'm just tossing that out there
It's
to
not
see if anybody has,
it's not a bad idea. Basically, a boost for helping accomplish the overall mission objective, but it would have to be very carefully implemented, so it wouldn't be something that you don't want it to be such a boost that it become unfair, because then you would have people that would do warbands, do the missions, get the renown boost. So it would, I'd say, I wouldn't want to give them a lengthy renown boost, but maybe a sudden burst boost of the last fight or something, kind of like the fall of a keep. I could see maybe doing that, but I would be very wary about a percentage boost, because that could be too easily manipulated. And Bombling just said something. If you want to take
yeah,
over.
I got it. Bombling is watching a football game. Now, let me ask this question first, Bombling. Are you watching real football, or are you watching soccer? Because, there's a difference. Real football or soccer. I'm just curious. Second, but an argument for why there don't need to be more rewards could be that the warband leader already get rewarded in terms of having control over the composition, tempo, and strategies used. That in itself is rewarding compared to joining an unsuccessful warband who might be scattered all over the zone. Okay, I get your point. I see what you're saying. And you're right. It's the same reason. It's the same mentality. I'll put it this way. It's the same mentality that a lot of solo players have, myself included, people who've run solo for a long time. In that if you go out on your own and you find a 1v1 fight and you win the fight, the reward itself of winning the fight outweighs the whatever renown you may have gotten for it. Okay, that's where I think, from reading Bombling's comment, that's where I think he's going with this, that a successful warband leader has a built-in reward already, in that he can say, I was a successful warband leader. We went out and, I took a bunch of ragtag guys and we went out and dominated the zone. And, I get it. I understand what he's saying, and it's true. Bombling makes a good point. It's true. I think what Rubius is promoting, or attempting to promote here, though, is just an incentive to get more people to go down that road. And therefore, I think those two ideals, the ideal of getting more people to engage, and then Bombling's ideal of there's already a reward attached, those two are mutually inclusive. They're mutually inclusive, right? They can both be true at the same time. That it's two elements of the same problem, both of which can be true, and both of which can serve as motivators. So, Cosmo says, I find leadership to not be rewarding, and is definitely more taxing than anything. Yeah, I tell you, Tato, buddy, I'm having a real hard time here not getting specific on some certain warband leaders that I've been associated with over time, because I know that might, it might not be the direction you want to go, but I'm having a fight with myself, man. Not to mention one or two guys in particular, but uh, Cosmo says I find leadership to not be rewarding. It is definitely, sometimes it's taxing to be, I'll phrase it this way. Sometimes it's taxing to just be in the warband. Um, Depending on who's leading, sometimes it's taxing just to be in there and, have to put up with the idiosyncrasies of a particular leader whose name I won't mention. Uh, all right. Um, is this thing still on?
Yeah,
Check one,
yes,
two.
still hear you.
All right. Um, but yeah, just, a short recap. I think, bobbling makes a good point, but I think it's one of those that could, there's a synchronicity. I'll use another big word, right? There's a synchronicity in what bobbling is talking about and the proposed reward system. They can work together. It can be two ways to try to accomplish the same goal. And although bombling still hasn't put in whether or not he's watching a real football game or soccer, he hasn't made that distinction yet.
He's probably watching rugby, which.
Oh, rugby. Okay. All right. Well, see, rugby's cool. I played rugby when I was in the Army. I played on the 24th Infantry Division rugby team, and hell, man, we used to play. Just real quick, this since you brought rugby up. Um, I mean, we played Georgia Tech. We played a lot of different rugby clubs around the area, and we played. God, what was that? Well, anyway, there's a college in Statesboro. We played them too, but anyway, I digress. All right.
There's a lot of pros and cons to implementing a reward system for warband leads, but the overall idea, I think, merits trying something, because currently we're lacking people that want to even try. This might be a way to encourage more people to want to step up.
All right. Bombling says, open RVR warbands also go on such a wide spectrum. That is true. First of all, between the level ranges, then the purpose. That is also true. Some warbands will focus on boxes, zones, and campaign. I'll take a quick aside right there, where he says some warbands will focus on boxes and zones in the campaign, and that's true. And those are the most boring type. And not that long ago on my stream one night, I tried running at a warband that was doing exactly that, just running boxes and trying to rank up the keep. And oh my God, I was bored to tears. Well, not really tears, but I was bored. But bombling is right. Some people do that, right? And okay, but to continue, can others focus on guild pride and just combat? Now, again, this is a matter of perspective. The war bands are the groups that run around just focusing on combat. Those are the type that are more of a draw to me, and I know some other people too. The other people that just want to go around and fight. And the idea might need to be narrowed down to pug war bands. I think you would get bombling. I think if some program like this was implemented, that you would get more pug war bands probably. I just, I just think that might be true. And Cosmo says running boxes can be more vital. Didn't we, Toth, refresh my memory here? Uh,
We had
it,
discussed an idea about it, and I've been discussing and hashing out an idea for doing something along those lines to put more emphasis on getting back to, making the box running and the objectives worth more, to put make the
yeah, I
focus about the pushing the campaign pain.
I thought we had maybe it was 2 weeks ago or 4 weeks ago, whatever we talked about that. Um, that the box running aspect of it it needed some more type of. I'm trying to remember exactly what the point of that conversation was, but um, the box running was a necessity. Okay, I got it. I remember now. I'm sorry, I remember now. Opening up the objectives, right, to where
Yeah,
you could get renowned at the
yeah.
objectives. That was it. Okay, yeah.
Put
And
more
I
put more emphasis on upping the amount of renown you get from capturing and holding and defending the objectives, to make it worthwhile, so that it changes the focus of the battles, so that it pushes the zone progression like it used to.
Yeah, and I think that's a good idea. I said it at the time, but I was talking about the fact that at one time on the server, in the history of the server, they had done that already. You could get renowned for just holding an objective, and I always thought that was a worthwhile idea. That was a worthwhile part of the open RVR scheme, right? To have that if you go and capture an objective, then for as long as you hold it, whoever's there can get renown, some level of renown points, right, for holding the objectives, while the objective also produces supplies for people to run, and that would just bring some of the fights back to the objectives themselves. I think more often than occurs now. That's just my opinion. And Hawkwood says, so a larger RP tick for the BO. Yes, Hawkwood, exactly. And exactly, a larger renown point tick for the BO. And ticks repeatedly. If I didn't, yeah, Cosmo, yes. If I didn't say that, I meant to. I should have. But that's exactly what I'm saying. That once you capture an objective, not only does it manufacture supplies for your side, but you also get a repeatable renown tick. And that system was, like I said before, we talked about before, that system has been in play on the game. It's some years ago, but it was active at one time on the server before. All right, Bombling says, all right, the match is over. I can jump on Discord if needed, but also fine just chatting in chat. No, Bombling, come on in, man. This is the more the merrier. This is the Top Monitor podcast, done every 2 weeks right here on this channel. And I, your humble narrator, I am here primarily just to help Top out so that he does not have to do all the talking, and thus can hang on, and uh, the discussions can go on a little bit longer, and just to try to make things easier for him. So that is my primary purpose here. And every now and then, if I sneak in a shameless plug for my own Twitch channel, I hope you guys won't mind. All right. Larger renown. Hawkwood says larger renown point in warband, less if solo. That is logical as well. Toth, I think what Hawkwood is saying here, that a larger renown point boost if for the warband members than if you were just standing there solo. I think that is logical as well. What do you think?
You would have to toy with that idea because that could also be very unfair to solo players.
Yeah, but the server doesn't give a crap about solo players anyway, and never has. And it's just, I mean, that's just true. It's been talked about. Uh, it's been talked about for as long as I can remember being here. That comments have been consistently made. We don't balance around solo. We're not interested in solo play. You can play solo if you want to, but you're going to suffer for it. That's a direct quote. So the server has never cared about solo players. They allow it, right? But solo players typically have the
Then
mindset.
go with whatever. Then go with it, and I mean, again, we won't know any of this unless they actually try it, and all we're doing is spitballing ideas, and I'll be
Yeah, yeah,
sending
yeah.
this to the devs for them to hear out, and ultimately they'll decide yay or nay.
Well, if I sounded a little harsh on that last comment, it's only because I felt a little harsh. But really, I'm just saying, as Cosmo says, I think solo is more of a choice, and that's true. Solo play is a choice. It is a lifestyle choice, and there was a joke there, but I decided not to do it. Um, and Cosmo says I do solo more. I do. I do solo practically all the time, but I just find it fun. That's all. I just find it a fun way to play. But so I guess the point to be made from that, uh, I think the point to be made from that I and people like Tosh, and there are a few other people on a server that do it too. The point to be made for that is if a system is implemented that rewards people in the warband or the warband leader, people who capture an objective, if they get a little more renown than the guy who just happens to be there solo, I don't care. That wouldn't bother me. That wouldn't bother me in the least. All right. And I don't think the other solo players would mind that either. Those who just wanted to be out by themselves, they wouldn't care either. I don't think they'd care either. On the other hand, I do think that it would encourage newer players, right? Lower level players especially, to find a warband to be in. And like Cosmo says, you can always just join a warband if you want to. So I mean, I guess my bottom line point on that is if a warband reward system is implemented, I don't think the solo players like myself or Tosh or anyone else who likes to play that way, none of us are going to care. None of us are going to care. It's like, okay, good, more power to you, right? If the server wants to do it, more power to you. You know, uh, go get them, boys, all that good stuff, and it would just be something that would help the game, I think. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Hello, hello. A quick mic check. I have a storm over my head. Am I lagging or robotic?
No, no, no.
Okay.
You have a storm over your head? Is that one of those little ones that follows you around everywhere you go, like a little cloud over your head?
Yes, I'm living in a cartoon.
Okay, all right. Um, well, welcome in, welcome in. Thanks for dropping in, man.
Thank you for
And
hosting. And good topic.
yeah, I'm impressed. I appreciate it. Toph, I appreciate it that you had something lined up. Because I was going to talk about I was going to talk about a rule being put on the server to forbid dwarves from ever running around naked. That was going to be my topic. So I'm glad that you had something better. Oh man.
Can I backtrack a little on the topic and just ask what the main incentive, not incentive, what would the main purpose be? Like, what is the goal trying to achieve with
The
rewarding the warband
overall
leaders?
goal is to get newer people to want to step up and warband lead. What we have now is a case of only a handful that actually of the same people that warband lead, many of whom have burned out and have stopped warband leading. So there's
Okay.
no there's a lot of times where you just have pugs that you'll have people form a warband, they don't actually lead, they do nothing. So there's no
Gotcha.
real leadership. The idea is to incentivize getting people to want to step in and not just to go for the rewards, but to actually want to be real warband leaders and hopefully, get more steady groups going so we can have more steady fights instead of it being, you know, we have some really good fights at certain times of the day, and then the rest of the day it's just mindless mob.
I think the
I,
idea has potential. But go ahead, Bombling, if you've got something. Go ahead.
I think it needs to be a specific idea to really dive into it, because it could be developed in so many different ways, right? Like if it's just a flat, okay, the warband leader is getting, let's say, 25% renown bonus or experience bonus. Someone could exploit that, because that's probably the day of age where we need to think of any idea from also the perspective of how it could be abused. Otherwise, it will never see the light of day. So if it's just a flat increase in progression, someone can just form a warband inside a fort, sit on funnel, be AFK, let his warband do all the work from just joining an open warband and reap the rewards for doing nothing. But if it's
Well,
something more detailed, like you get a little, not a checklist, but like let's say you get a list of different objectives you cannot complete, and then you get little
You
rewards.
will. That's part of it. You missed that part.
Okay,
There would be a variety of missions that would be randomly handed out to each person that becomes a war band lead, and the only way you get those uh, get the reward is you and your warband would have to achieve those goals spread across the active zones, not just one zone. So it would not be set up in a way to where you could just sit and AFK and get it. You would have to be actively moving, taking points, and defending them. The idea is to break the back of the Zerg play.
well, let me put a different or bring in a different aspect of this, please. Uh, the renown, and Bombling is talking about renown, and I think that that's a real concern. But I think that it might be addressed in one manner, in that, like we were talking about earlier, that if the objectives are opened up so that capturing them gives a repeatable, tick for as long as you're holding the objective, that would go to the warband leaders, or not leaders, I'm sorry, that would go to the members, go to all the members of the warband. Okay, that would be acceptable. I think that would be fine. But renown, people can get renown in this game in a plethora of different ways. All right, there's another big word. There's a plethora of means available for people to gain renown. And so I think, I'm sorry, I got a cough real quick. Okay, I think for the warband leader reward, renown probably shouldn't be part of that, right? So you ask yourself this question: what is it that people really want when it comes to items that can be gained in game? What is it that really motivates a lot of people? It's something unique, right? It's something unique. A unique title that only warband leaders could get by processing through whatever the mechanics are, whatever the goals are a cosmetic item. Okay, a cosmetic item that only that can be gained only through the process of leading multiple successive war bands, right? Something that if you had this particular title in game, or you had this particular helmet or cloak or whatever, everybody would know, okay, that's what you get for leading a warband. That's really cool, right? You got that from leading warbands. That's a real thing in the game, guys. That's a real thing. People want cosmetic items sometimes just to sort of help set them apart. It's the whole fashion hammer thing. Okay, so that's another idea, right? And again, I'm just spitballing, but what do you think, Bombling?
Personally, I just agree with the history of Return of Reckoning that they took boxes out of counting warband wide because people were just standing AFK in tier 1 at the flags while other people ran the boxes. So just if we look at that player behavior, that's probably why it can be something that just boosts your renown or your progression in any way when you're warband leading and you're getting some sort of reward for stepping up and hurting the cats. As for the cosmetics, yeah, I agree that could be a carrot on a stick. As for Toph's comment, I think that's two different systems that should probably be kept separate. That splitting the blob up and promoting warband leaders is probably not going to be handled by the same system, so maybe that should be separated, but that's just my personal opinion. Maybe that's wrong. I just think it's you cannot achieve both with this idea.
Yeah, again, I think in the point you're making, I think there's some synchronicity there, in that, you know, if Rubius listens to this later, my suggestion would be to consider it in that regard, that a renown boost, a temporary or a localized, that's a better word, the localized renown boost, which would make capturing objectives become more important, and holding, not just capturing an objective, but holding an objective, would make that more important. And it is something that you know, that system did once exist on the server already. I have video to prove it. I was there, man. You know, I was there. That was the winter of 42. But that system has already existed. It's already on the server, and I thought it was a good system at the time. And I've never quite fully understood why they took it out, except that certain people complained. And that's been a staple of the server, is that when certain people complain, things tend to change. But anyway, that's a whole nother story. But they could put that in. And then again, as part of the open RVR warband quest leader, just for lack of a better term, I don't know what it would be called, right, Top? I don't know exactly what it would be called, but let's just call it the Open RVR warband leader reward quest system. I think unique cosmetic items would motivate some people, you know, because that's a big thing with a lot of people, man. The whole fashion hammer.
It would. There would be people. I could say you could even take cosmetic rewards from, say, past events and make it a random drop. Don't make it something that's known. Make it a random reward so they never know what they're gonna get. Case an idea for you could have the vampire cloaks as random reward. There's a lot of people that would drool over getting those cosmetic cloaks. You could not give them gold, war crest, whatever. Give them a cloak, and they're happy. Some people are like that. It just, you would have to tinker with it to perfect it. But again, the whole idea behind this is to get more people to want to step up and lead, so we can have more solid leaders, to have more active fighting going on. But also, too, with having the objectives, it would move the fights and keep the fights more fluid, instead of the stagnation that we have now, where it's Zerg up and one or two spots and just farm.
I
And
think
this,
a cloak, a unique warband leader cloak with a picture on the back of it of Stone Cold Steve Austin or The Rock or somebody, that would be. I'm making a joke, Tom. Or Arnold Schwarzenegger in the picture on the back. That would be, that'd be cool. Bobbling, I think you were going to say something.
yeah, it's just me again, funnily enough. I'm the biggest complainer, I think, on the server when it comes to OpenRVR and the objectives not mattering. I've tried so many different campaigns of rallying warband leaders and guild builders and whatever, and try to make volume in the outcry that objectives need to matter again, and it hasn't been heard. So I've kind of given up a little bit, but hopefully with the new OpenRVR rework, after ability rework, maybe something is going to happen. But I think it's the zone mechanics that are making people blob, because there's just no value in going and take a BO. Let's think about the Thunder Mountain, if people can have a mental image right now. Or Tosh, maybe you can pull it up on stream. Thunder Mountain has one BO that is just so far from all the action, and it sees absolutely no action on the heat map. Like, if the BOs had the same value, so all BOs would take the same value and same action throughout the entire duration of a zone, that would increase the likelihood that people would split out, because they would focus more on the BOs, whatever that system would look like in terms of giving them value. But making people form warbands, I think that's just something different. But again, that's just me. I think it's two very different systems and issues.
Well, I agree with you. I agree with you 100% about the objectives mattering. And somebody in the Twitch chat earlier said the same thing. I think it was Cosimo. Did destruction kill you while you had the map up, Toth?
Yeah, sorry, Tosh.
Those guys, I swear, man, those destruction guys, they have no honor. But anyway, but yeah, Bombling, you're right. I agree with you 100%. The objectives should matter, and I to this day, I don't really understand exactly why. When that system was active on the server before. Why they took it out? But anyway, you make a good point.
I have a comment from my kick chat. Nagul saying they need to go back to the 12-man cap for pug warbands and go back to 24-man being guild alliance only, as too many pug warbands are just 24 people blobbed for leech RR and not what warbands are meant to be with 24 people. That's part of what we're discussing, is the idea of getting more people to want to step up and lead, is to have actual solid warbands and not just mindless groups of people wandering around doing that. Is to get away from that bit of having those cases of where it's just 24 people in a warband leeching renown, which you're never really going to stop because of the way the fights work and how easy it is for that to happen.
Yeah. How long until Land of the Dead?
Hour 44.
Okay, all right.
So, but it's still a valid topic thing that you bring up there, Nagul. But yeah, it's again, the whole point of this is just trying to come up with something to help galvanize the community. And I think with the warband leads having random assignments and random objectives to take in both zones, not just one, that would help put more emphasis on focusing on the campaigns, because the objectives would be revolving around just that, the BOs and the keeps. So say one mission might be, okay, you have to take these BOs and the final is to take the keep.
And if I remember correctly, at one time, of course, that may have been the Fortress Lords I'm thinking of, but I seem to recall that there was some mechanic in game at one time that the strength of the Keep Lord, how tough the Keep Lord was, also depended on how many objectives the side that was attacking the Keep had control of, right? Or the defenders had control of. So if Order was attacking a Keep and Destro had control of 3 of the 4 objectives, their Keep Lord was stronger than if they didn't have any of the objectives. I seem to
Yeah,
I mean, I think that
there was
was
a time, yeah, back before they changed universal currency. Depending on how many you had, it actually your keyboard would be stronger. I remember that it made it to where it was very paramount that you had groups out holding the objectives to prevent that.
Yeah, or taking the objectives just to to boost your keyboard. Again, I'm not. I mean, I'm sure that those systems were scrapped for reasons. I just don't recall what those at the moment. I don't recall, what the stated reasons were. But
I don't think I think that system just got scrapped when they overhauled the way the campaigns work because most people liked it because it prevented the stagnation we're seeing now, because you would actually have small that's when 6-man 12-man would be having to work in tandem with the big 24-man groups, because everybody had a role to play, and it all had to work together in such a way to pull off the win. Now it's just
it's all too simple.
Yeah. If you put that system back into play, that could go a long way to helping restore, breaking it. The overall goal would be breaking apart the big blobbing.
It wasn't Crazy Cooks.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. Sorry.
Crazy Cook says it might have been scrapped because lack of numbers when server is on low pop. That's it. Could be my answer to that. Crazy Pop or Crazy Cooks. And don't misunderstand, because with all due respect, I'm only asking a question here. If that's true, if it's true that the system was scrapped due to lack of numbers when the server's on low pop, where did that get us? If that's true that's why they scrapped that system, where did that get us? Did the numbers go up? I don't think so. So at this point, it certainly couldn't hurt. It certainly, I don't see that it could hurt. It couldn't hurt to put to bring those systems back in conjunction. I should specify in conjunction with the whole warband leader reward thing, right?
Yeah, all of these systems are interconnected, but for the warband leading and promoting it, I'm not sure what it would take. If it would be some sort of checklist or a pop-up where you can select the quest for the warband. I can already think of ways people would exploit that. They would disband their warband when it's just 2 people and then look for a better quest or a better option.
That's been thought of. It would not be to where you would not get the quest unless you met a minimum requirement, and from the ideas put forward, you'd need at least minimum 12 to 15. So
okay.
That's to prevent people from doing just that, of forming a 6 or 2 man and flipping it on, get the quest, and then go do. No. Plus, there would also, I think there's also been a consideration of a time factor. That way, if you just recently became a warband, you'd have to be a warband leader for a little bit in order for it to trigger. That way, it prevents somebody from just getting it and trying to cheese it. So there are and there's been discussions of ways to put things in place to stop people from cheating the system. Again, I wanted to put this idea out here in front of the community to hear the community's thoughts, so that
We're on an ad. Okay. We're on an ad break.
All right, hold on 1 second, guys.
Yeah, we'll just stand by a minute. Yeah. What game is this? That looks pretty cool. You're advertising some video game. What?
It's a new gaming site. It's Green Day Gaming. It works kind of like Humble Bundle.
That looked pretty cool. Whatever game that was, that looked pretty cool.
While we're on an ad break, Toth, do you have any other warband builders coming in? Because I don't mind talking about warband building and experiences.
Not at the moment. A few had expressed interest, but all they said to me was, "We might be there. I'll get back to you." I haven't heard anything from them. I told them, I'm not gonna hold a spot on a maybe either. Yes, you're gonna be here. Or no. And I have some more comments from my Kick chat I want to read out to once the ad breaks up. But give me a minute and I'll be right back, gang.
Sounds like he's having a little bit of problems. I worry about the guy. Bombling, you there? Okay, apparently. Yeah, apparently we're still on. The ad break is over, I guess. Cosmo said he works too hard. Yeah, the audio's still on. Well, let me just take a moment then, since we're back. Let me just take a moment and say once again, you are listening to the Toth RoR Podcast, and every 2 weeks, Toth Mountain tries to do this, and he has an open door invitation policy. All you have to do is contact him and say you want to be on the show, and you can be on the show. My purpose here is the same as it has been for a while now. I just come in every time to help Toth out, so that he doesn't have to do all the talking. And I'm happy to do it, but I stress the point all the time that this is still his podcast. This is his show, and so I'm just the hired help. But I do appreciate you guys coming in and making some comments in the Twitch chat, and I appreciate Bombling coming in and talking to us.
Back.
Welcome back.
Okay. And now that you're back, I apologize, but I need a minute.
No.
For the bathroom. I need a minute for the bathroom. I'll be right back.
I'm gonna read off what. Let me see. Let me make sure I'm reading this right. I used. Nagul said. Okay. We need less pug warbands and more people making 6-mans, as people need to gain experience in leading. 24-man need to be in-game organized content again. While I agree in some ways, I'm not gonna. I disagree in the fact I'm not gonna say, oh well, they need to do this first before they do that. That's not gonna do anything except have people just not wanna. They'll quit before they'll do that route. Because if they don't like 6-man play, they're not gonna do it. If they prefer warband play, that's what they're gonna go looking for.
And there's definitely a role for POC warbands. There's definitely a purpose for them to exist in this game.
And
For people who... Yeah, go on.
Nagul also said, I used to make a lot of warbands, but stopped due to pugs just wanting to AFK and leech. I found it a lot easier as a warband leader, as a pug warband leader, to manage 6 to 12 people without Discord. That's true. That's how I got started warband leading. Myself was 6 to 12, and then I upped it to 24 man. I quit warband leading because I got tired of fighting with people. I just kicked AFKers, but I also, it just after a time it got to be where it just wasn't worth it, and then people wanting to constantly, oh well, I know better than you type mindset, and it gets old. So I understand something, needs to give. I'm not saying what you're suggesting is not a solid idea. Learning in a 6-man environment can only benefit you on the 24-man level, because how the 24-mans actually operate, your 6-man party and your buffs and everything only affect your 6-man party. Your party fills a very specific job within that 24-man warband, and those 4 6-mans have to work together as a whole to be effective. If they can't do that, then yeah, it's just a disaster.
Okay, I'm back. Thank you.
Well, welcome back. I was answering and reading what Nagal said. They were talking about how 6-mans need to come back as a learning tool as for the end game of 24-mans, which I understand. I mean, people need to learn in the 6-mans. True, but I'm not gonna force people to do strictly 6-mans, because there's people that like 6-mans. There's people that like war bands.
Yeah, I mean, if a system like this is going to be introduced, I don't think you can get too much into the weeds with it.
Yeah,
it would have to be something that would apply to a full 24, or at the very least, right, a 12-man group. A 12-man group, I guess, would probably be enough, or probably should be enough, right, to qualify for whatever the incentives might be. But anything lower than that,
from my understanding, it wouldn't be any less than a 12 man, or it could be anywhere from 12 to 15. The idea is there's no way it would trigger for anything under that to prevent people from cheating this system.
And I see potential in it. I really do. I'm not, I think it is worthwhile. That's probably the best aspect to look at it from, is that it is a worthwhile endeavor to look at, and try to come up with something that would work. And again, I with the right incentives, I suppose, it really could be beneficial. I think it really could be beneficial. And I wanted, Bombling made a point a little while ago when you brought up the map of Thunder Mountain about that's Gromwell Kruk, right? Isn't that the name of that one?
Yeah, yeah.
that's so far off the side of Gromrel Crook. I think over the last few years, man, the only thing that Gromrel Crook has ever been really useful for is riding out there solo, looking for somebody who might just be in the area, right? It's like a hunting ground for solo players out there
Yeah,
because
it gets, yeah.
typically, there may only be one or two people that ever go to that area anyway. So that's a fair point that he made. That if the objectives meant something, and it would just promote more movement. Oh man, I've got a phone call. Let's see who this is. But yeah, it would just, I think, encourage more movement around the battlefield. Oh, I know who that is. They can wait. All right. Okay. Bombling, you still with us?
Yes.
Okay. I have another issue I would like to bring up for discussion, if you guys don't mind.
Go ahead. We've covered the main one I wanted,
Okay.
that, or at least that topic, and gotten some solid feedback on it.
Okay, there is a thread currently on the forum, which is entitled Patrick and Squidward's essay on class balance. And it's up to like 7 pages or something like that. And Patrick wrote a huge long screed about class balance, individual classes. And I applaud his effort, and there is one aspect of it that I wish to bring up for open discussion. The quote here is, Swordmaster 25% parry buff is a garbage utility. Well, actually, Patrick did not write this. This is from Detangler. Okay, this is a response that Detangler gave. So these are actually Detangler's words. He says, Swordmaster 25% parry buff is garbage utility due to its extremely short duration and SM ability balance mechanics, making it extremely difficult to keep up 100% of the time. The proposed solution that Patrick made was increase the time that the parry buff is active to 10 seconds. I agree. I think, I don't know what all is part of the ability rework. Techno is kind of tight-lipped about it because, of course, he's not supposed to talk about everything that's going on, even to me. And even when I've threatened to make him sleep outside at night, he still won't tell me what's going on. But I think that should happen. I think the 25% parry buff ability for sword masters, the duration of that should be increased to 10 seconds. Any thoughts?
How blunt do you want me to be?
Well, as long as you don't call me names, I
No.
don't care.
So I think my general thought is that we are so close to a potential 1.8.4 standardization patch where there's going to be a boatload of balance changes coming afterwards, and all of that is supposedly already happening in the back of the server. So talking about abilities is fine for conversation, but I think a lot of this is already happening in the background, so it would just be for conversation, not really for providing feedback. That's just my general opinion about balance talks.
Well, I see your point, but my primary motivation for bringing that particular point up at all is the fact that Toth Monitor makes it clear all the time that the devs do listen to his podcast, and so since since Rubius probably in particular is going to listen to this one today, I wanted to get it open out on the floor for consideration of the powers that be, that maybe as part of the ability patch, that would be something worth considering, right? because, and it's not just sword masters. There are a lot of abilities out there that are useful abilities, but then they aren't because they don't last long enough that a lot of times it really makes a difference. So that was my general motivation. But no, I see your point, bombing. That there's so much going on right now that who knows. It is better. I'm sorry. It is better to just wait, I suppose. Yeah, I mean, you got a valid point.
I saw the forum topic as well, and I read like 4 pages in one sitting, and my head was just exploding because, at least in my opinion, when you're talking about balance, each time you address one ability, you need to look at what you can pair that ability with in terms of composition, but also what you are fighting against and what the enemy can do. And everything just becomes so connected that the conversation starts involving every single ability in the game when you just look at one ability, and it just becomes such a big cluster. But that's just my opinion. Maybe people look at it more black and white and just look at one ability and feel like, I wish this was longer, or I wish I didn't cost so much AP on this ability, or
You
whatever.
are right, though. Unfortunately, the way the abilities work with every class, you can't just tinker and mess with one ability. What you do with one affects how that class and ability operates with all the others. So it's not just one. You can't just mess with one and do nothing to the others, because the way the classes are designed and implemented, it affects all of them. So it's a cascade effect. You can't. You've got to take it all into consideration, and most people don't because they only think about their class, and that's all motivates them.
Well, let me approach the topic from a different angle then. In bombing, I suppose you would be the most qualified to answer this, but just to keep the specific example on the table, okay? So let's suppose that the Swordmaster 25% parry buff, the time duration on that was raised from 5 seconds to 10 seconds. Okay. Just for the sake of the question, let's suppose that was actually done. Okay, where do you see that impacting, or how do you see that impacting other classes in a manner that would matter? And again, I'm not being confrontational. I don't mean it that way. I'm just asking the question. Where would that impact, say, a Choppa or whatever group you happen to be in, the Archmage? I mean, how would that matter in the context that you're phrasing it?
So in this very specific example, is it Eagle Flight, if I remember correctly? Is that the name of the...
Yeah, Eagle's Flight, yeah.
If I remember on top of my head, it's not requiring a greatsword, so you could also use it in shield spec. So it would make both a sword and board and a two-handed swordmaster more tanky if you double the uptime. The argument for increasing it would be that since it's a stance-dancing class, you have to walk through the global cooldowns after the global cooldown was increased. Then arguably you have less uptime, but if you have more uptime, that means that you could get more of your third stance abilities out at the same time, and then everything becomes this interconnected madness again, which I'm trying very strongly to avoid.
I do.
Sorry if I'm not dancing here, but it's just abilities are...
I do have some thoughts to add to what you're saying from some of my people on Kick. Just to add into that, like with the abilities and stuff, Nagul said that someone that has mained as a tank player for over 4 years have a lot of issues about tank classes. There are glaring flaws with tanks, though, as certain tanks are scratching for stats, defense, etc., and some tank classes get gifted stats, etc. My 80 Kebab versus my 80 Chosen.
And in this example, if it was double duration, that would mean that you could have it up permanently while also being able to perform other secondary third stance utility for either your group or offensive dishes out, which is your strong suit as Black Orc and Swordmaster. And I just think it would be overtuned just at first glance. I haven't given it any thought, naturally.
Right. Yeah, I you know, I suppose. When you talk about an ability like Whispering Winds too, and the ability to get that out, I can see your point, but it is possible. As a Swordmaster player, I mean, it is possible now, even with a 5-second duration, it is possible to keep it active. Because I've done it. You can do it. You can keep it active now. Almost practically full time, especially if you're using the what is it, Crimson Wind? That's the Sentinel from Crimson Tunnels, the sword from Crimson Tunnels that gives you a random plus 10%, to parry and dodge and disrupt, and your charisma gives you charisma bonus too, I think, but. So it is. I mean, Eagle's Flight. It is possible to keep Eagle's Flight up if that is your goal, if that is your intention. I just, as a longtime Swordmaster player, I'm always advocating for, my class should be buffed, right?
I mean, as a tank, naturally, you want to be more tanky. I don't think anyone
Yeah.
can blame you for having that urge.
Yeah. Okay. Is there another topic? Anyone?
Hold on,
Anyone?
let me look under at my cake channel. Nagul saying if your tank can't get to 75% defense stat, your tank class is broken and needs to be fixed. As a S&B sword and board kebab, I have a min-max and stack sets to get my thresholds of stats and defense percentages, and my chosen can overcap with zero issue.
Where are you reading that from?
In my Kick channel. I'm multi-streaming the podcast to Twitch and Kick.
Okay.
Did you have any more topics prepared on forehand, Tosh? You said this was the main topic, but did you have anything else?
Not really.
I
didn't,
some
no.
others. I just haven't got to them yet because I wanted people to have a chance to discuss each thing in turn. If you have anything you want to bring up, then feel free to before I jump to the next thing.
I think you and I talked a little bit in the past, before a previous podcast, if you wanted some warband leaders or builders on, but I feel like it would be such a monologue if I'm sharing my warband experiences with how it feels, what it takes, where it's straining, and all these sorts of experiences from warband building and leading a guild warband. So I would prefer to do that if there was at least one or two
Please.
other. But yeah, I'm just
Because please, but there's an aspect of that at some point I would like to ask you about anyway. You did mention streaming, right?
If you want to go over it, you can. If you don't, you don't
Yeah.
have to. I've tried to get more warband leaders to come in, and I get told repeatedly, "Let me see, I'll get back to you," or "Hey, I might be there," and then I hear nothing from them. So if you want to share your thoughts, it might enlighten some people. So by all means,
Please go ahead.
So are there any specific areas people are interested in in hearing about. And again, this would be such a my personal experience, which I'm trying to not share too much.
I think the biggest thing I hear out of most new warband leaders, and I've tried to help a lot of newer leaders, is getting people to want to follow and listen. How to motivate your warband to actually want to follow and do what needs to be done, instead of this argumentative do anything you want to do, instead of actual what's needing to be done. So that would be my starting point. How you go about addressing that to a new warband leader.
I would probably link them that clip from Game of Thrones where they're fighting at the wall. Spoiler alert, by the way. They're fighting at the wall, and then Jon Snow and Sir Alistair is having an argument where they are saying something along the lines of, do you know what leadership means? It means that everyone gets to second guess every command you're giving. And that's probably as close as it gets, because the moment you're leading a warband and it wipes, everyone is ready to second guess the fight you just provided, or the calls you made, or whatever leadership you provided in that fight. So just overcoming that.
That was a beast mode reference, man. My hat's off to you. That was a beast mode reference. Pulling up Game of Thrones. That was a great scene. And you're right. I remember that. Leadership means, every little. I had to edit it. Everyone gets to second guess every decision that you make.
Yeah.
And that's a good. I mean, that was good. That was well done.
So in terms of just getting the ball rolling, I mean, there's so many different entry levels of warband building. Like I've done some of the different aspects. I've done a little bit of just open puck warband in some fortress defenses and some random zones, but majority I've done 2-2 based, so like 2 tanks, 2 healers, 2 DPS in each group, just to have like a decent spread of having the necessary mitigation, the necessary sustain, and the necessary damage output for you to win a fight, but also sustain a fight. So first of all, getting the setup is important in some cases. Sometimes if you're just in an open warband, that's where it gets a little tricky, because people don't have commitments. They can literally press join. They don't need to listen to commands in Discord. They have the risk of getting kicked, but many people still roll the die and just leech around or do their own thing or stand AFK because something is happening in their household. So,
well, my theory. I mean, there was a time in my history of both a live version of this game and here that I wasn't an active warband leader for some time. Now that's been a while, but my primary means to handle that was that if you were in the warband, but you weren't with the warband, then you got kicked out of the warband. Because what's the point? If you're going to join a warband, but you're not going to stay with the warband, what's the fracking point, right? And so is that kind of your philosophy too when you're running a warband?
Since I've mostly been doing closed warbands, you don't get too much of that. Like naturally, when you're the leader, you do have the luxury of your way is the highway kind of deal. So if someone is creating drama, to AFK, falling off the bridge, petting their cat or whatever it might be, and just never being with the warband, you do have the right to kind of run it the way you want and get rid of people that you don't necessarily agree with their performance or whatever it may be. If they're not even there, like as you say, like what's the point? You might as well free up.
1 second, bombling. I'm gonna be pulling in someone else that's a former warband leader that's in my kick channel.
No, but bombling. I mean, I think that's just one of the basic constructs of running a warband, or being in a warband, I should say. One of the basic constructs of being in a warband is you have to stay with a warband. Otherwise, you're just wasting everybody's, you're wasting everybody's time.
But I think I should say that, like, a warband is despite the size, it still has limited spots. So if someone is not there, you might as well free up that spot for someone that
Yeah.
will be there.
Yeah.
No,
One thing
no
I
life
personally-
is joined us as soon as you're done. I'll turn the floor over so they can share their thoughts on warband leading.
But something I personally think is my style, and maybe other people are doing it as well, but something I really make a big deal out of is when I accumulate a warband in the past, I try to make sure that I'm vocal about the expectations. So I'm doing a little speech of like, okay, healers, I'm expecting you guys to do this. Tanks, you guys are responsible of this. We are electing a tank to do a challenge rotation. Making sure everyone is on the same page on a very basic level. Telling the tanks and the healers, you guys are both responsible of closing the guard range. If one guy is getting punted, don't just wander off and make the tether line even longer. Both come together like magnets. DPS, make sure to set up assist macros, and even if you're AoE spec, you still need to spam that main assist and make sure if your target is low, just quickly finish it. Like some of the very basics, just because when expectations levels have been put out there, it's easier for people to. I mean, people are not mind readers, right? So if some warband leaders are doing it differently, I think it's just a very nice introduction to just spend like 5 minutes, explain the basics of what is expected, and then go out and play.
All right, so nolife has joined us. Let's please chime in and take the floor for a moment.
Hello, everybody. You
Hello.
probably know me. You probably know me from Twitch. I might sound familiar.
I apologize, but I'm drawing a blank at the moment.
Yeah, on my line,
on my
line, you have a little bit of, not a lag, but a little stuttery. Try saying a sentence.
Hello.
Okay, seems good now.
I
Yeah,
just
we can
moved my
hear you
mic a bit
fine.
closer. Okay. Yeah, I was just listening to bombling was saying, and I think I agree with a lot of what you guys are talking about, and I think there's a lot of issues just with expectations versus reality to what and the reasons why. Well, I was discussing with Toth in his kick about why are people joining a warband, and then that goes into the mentality. I think a lot of people's mentality when it comes to warband is they're trying to use a warband as a way to hide in a crowd. They're not actually wanting to participate in proper warband content. They're seeing it as a way to I can optimize my leech. They just want to get renown. They want to get crests. They know the most efficient way to do it is you just join a big group, and then it ends up affecting the overall mentality of the warband, and it makes it harder, I believe, for any warband leader to try to lead or make a warband when you have at least a good 50 to 70% of the people joining your warband with the expectation that you're going to just feed them crests and renown, and if they don't get it, then you are now bad, or they will you're to blame in not getting their content, which is that they want the renown and they want the crests. They don't actually want to participate in the actual warband content of 4-6 man groups trying to make a 2-2-2 and actually having decent battles where you're how's the best way to say it? You see them it becomes a kill trade in a way. They're not trying to make a proper, okay, we're going to do an organized push, we're going to hold, it seems to come into we're going to zerg and then we're going to run away, and then you leave your front line to get farmed by the other group, and then you rinse and repeat for a good half an hour to an hour in one spot. And it's that's my biggest complaint about warbands, I personally believe, is the mentality of why people are joining warbands, and then the lack of agency for guilds and alliances, because I was mentioning in Toth's kick that there is no real player agency anymore when it came to it got stripped away from guilds and alliances, where it used to be a sort of a if you wanted to do 24-man, it was a guild or an alliance type thing, and you would work up
Right.
to that. You wouldn't just be like, oh, 24 people, and just go, go ham in the zone. You'd start off as a 6-man, you'd make friends, or you'd join a big guild, and then they'd bring you into the fold, and you'd start getting into it. And if you weren't in a Discord, the more people that there are, the worse it becomes, because you try to manage 23 people with no Discord, and half of them are just expecting you to like farm them kills and stuff. It becomes a well, as you guys probably know, it's very draining and demoralizing, and people like it shows a bad experience for a lot of people as well, because it's not how it's actually supposed to be. And that's when I was mentioning in his thing that I believe that they need to go and start capping the warbands for pugs, and being like, well, sorry, you guys as pugs have been sort of like abusing the bulk group content as a warband to just sit and farm, and not actually use it as an organized tool to be like in game as a goal. To like, oh yeah, I want to be part of a guild or an alliance because look at that, there's 24 of them trying to do content and are fighting another guild, and I believe that mentality is gone, or like we've lost that, and that's what I believe is like real sad. It's like, yeah, I'm rambling a bit, but yeah, like the mentality of the players is one of my big concerns now, with how they are facilitating the content with the warbands, and the fact that they're easily able to do it by just like, we'll just make a warband, fill it with 23 people. We won't be in Discord. We won't even try to organize it. We'll just smush our warband to, and we'll just run around the zone trying to farm little groups, or,
What?
or we'll dodge them.
Yeah, one aspect of some of the points you've been making for a moment, please. I am of the opinion, and this may be a whole nother can of worms, but I am of the opinion that certain aspects of the game over time have just become too easy. And that has contributed to some of the situations that you are describing with it. It affects the manner of play. If all I have to do to get the crest I need, or if all I have to do to get the renown I need is just follow these guys around, to me that kind of that takes a lot of the fun, or the challenge. I suppose challenge might be a better word, right? It takes a lot of the challenge out of the experience when.
It
Uh,
make Oh, sorry.
go ahead. I was well, I just think the bottom line is I just think a lot of aspects of the game have just become too easy over time. But please,
I fully agree. I believe it makes, as people become very lazy, and they've got like they expect it now, instead of like earning it and then trying to work towards it. They expect it, and you've got that sort of a mentality of people like just gimme, 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 gimme. I want
yeah,
to consume. And it's like, bros, it's like it used to be a goal where you would try to get into a good guild, and a guild that had some strong alliances and stuff like that, because
yeah,
they would make 24 mans, and they'd take it seriously, and it wasn't just just AFK farm. It was, as I think it's got like really quite sad of like, yeah, like where's the agency? Like where's the guild and the alliance agency? Like people don't care anymore, because they can just easily just make a pug 24 man, and then they don't care if they win the zone. They don't, as long as they can like smush their warband into something, and they can get some crests and some renown, they're more than happy with that. And it's like, well, there's so much more to the game than just like AFKing in a blob. I get quite sad when I see it.
yeah,
That's
and
why I don't make plans anymore.
well, and that even scales down to the 6-man experience. Sometimes the most recent 6-man SC group that I was in, and some of the there's at least one name in the group, other name in the group that most people would know, but the most recent 6-man I was in, they didn't even want to use Discord, and I'm like, what's the fracking point, man? You know, you've got a Discord channel, and we're not going to use it. Uh, I think to a degree, part of that is just a reflection of how easy it is anymore to accomplish some of the things that you, like you say, you used to have to put a lot of effort into.
I just don't seem to like understand how they don't seem to like get it that why they lose a whole lot of fights and they lose it. Like for today, for example, it was really quite sad that I was seeing people in what was it Av, and they were just smushing at the door with their warband, and like they weren't really doing the warband leader was trying to lead it, but no one was really like they've spawned a ram with no AAO, so this is destruction. So I think it was Fury, who's a Black Hawk, made a warband, and then they were trying to do content. And then I was trying to not be a troll, but it got like to the point where for the first 10 to 15 minutes of the siege, I was trying to say and like I was trying to be like positive in region and not troll them or take the Mickey, and it'd be like, hey, you guys might want to like do post defense, and you might like not AFK at main. You have no AAO. If you're gonna like try to do this, then you might want to actually like take it a little bit seriously because it's not 100% AAO where you can just sit at main. And this poor guy was like trying to get destruction to do stuff, and then happening was they basically broke the outer and got farmed by order because like the whole half an hour he was basically trying to like beg people to not really AFK, but no one was doing post defenses, no one was killing oil. Like took like 10 minutes to kill an oil. It was just like I was like, oh my god, it was like lost before it even began.
Well,
And then people were like,
let's bring this full circle because we had the discussion earlier about the potential program to reward warband leaders and encourage warband play, and some of the issues you brought up here since you came in about the style of play, if you want to call it that, or the habits, a lot of the player habits being a bit lazy, and I think that the system we were talking about earlier, and again, I'm just throwing this out there, but I think the system as we were discussing earlier in the podcast would serve to help address some of the issues you brought up just by default. If you have more of an encouragement to be more participative, well, you know what I'm saying, in a warband, then by default, I would think that would have to increase the level of play along with it. What do you think?
yeah, I believe that too, but I believe as well that people really need to like or the devs should really look at making it like adding features that would actually make it more RPs, like get people to role play actually as a warband. Like we don't have people doing standard bearer stuff anymore. Like you don't see anyone doing standard bearer stuff. You don't see anyone doing like banner slams to clear doors. You don't see anyone pulling guild banners out, dropping guild banners down. Like the PvP IQ, I call it, has dropped off so much that it's like people just it's anything to like make. I think it's kind of get a bit hard where do you like where do you now reward people where they should be just wanting it should happen naturally. Like if the systems aren't facilitating this naturally, is a carrot on the stick going to really do it without people just wanting to abuse it to get said carrot?
Right.
Can I contest this?
Well, yeah,
Hello.
please.
So, if we're using the example of Avalon, as you brought up, it sounded like there was some distro leaders that tried to play the siege properly and use several entry points and do a hammer and anvil and flank a funnel or at least spread the attention or spread the fight out instead of everyone just brain AFK and going through the main door. Was that the situation?
Well, the situation was is people didn't even try. They just all went to main and then just
Okay,
stopped
yeah.
at main.
So my argument would be that if it's already apparent at that point that the players can get more rewards by just putting in more effort or playing better, whatever you would label it as. Like going to the post, and if it's undefended, is probably just the right play in that situation, right? Without having all the information. But in that case, if the POG warband or whatever warband is just having no clear leadership, no one is following, people are not playing as a unit, and they just in this open warband out of name but not out of gain, if that makes sense. Instead, if they put in the effort, if like at least 5 people in warband chat said, okay, yeah, let's go post, and then they follow the leader, maybe the rest of the hesitators would follow, and then you would have like this bigger chance of winning for putting in more effort. And that's why I think it's rewarding to be a warband leader, because it's a small server. Like you can build up a name, you can build up a following, you can build up a reputation of being a good warband leader or a bad warband leader or just an average Joe. It's fine to be whatever, but when you get results, you also get more of a following joining you, and people come where the results are, and they put in more effort if they know that it's worth putting in effort, if that made sense.
Well, no argument there.
And that does go full circle to the first topic of yeah, we can make it more attractive with like you can get I don't know, a halo, angel wings, devil horns, a mount, whatever cosmetics to be a warband leader. But in the end of the day, you also need to do the combat and do the leadership, and that just comes over time with game knowledge, understanding the game, the classes, but also getting your feet wet and getting the results and learning trial and error.
I like the idea of the halo. That's actually pretty good. All right, Toph, let me ask you a question, please. We've gone past the 2-hour mark here, and we have Land of the Dead coming up. So what do you want to, how do you wish to proceed at this moment?
We still got a good 53 minutes before Land of the Dead, and you know it normally takes a few minutes to queue. We'll wrap up just prior to Land of the Dead starting, but I do want to answer a few additional questions. I believe Walder was about to ask a question. If you want to field that question, and we'll see where it goes, and then we'll start wrapping up.
I see Walder. Oh, Walder has a question. Okay. But I do not see the actual question.
I think he was. Well, I told him 1 second, so if he wants to go ahead and ask
Okay.
it now, go ahead. I just
Yeah,
didn't
go ahead.
want it to get missed.
While we're waiting for Boulder's question, just to again, I guess put a specific on some of the stuff that No Life and I were talking about. You know, I still remember the days when once you hit renown rank 40 in this game, your renown gain that came after that was only 25%. So for every 4 renown points that you earned, you only actually got 1. And it was under that system that I leveled to renown rank 78. And you know, that was every time you got a renown rank then, it really felt like you had done something. And I think, as you were saying, you know, I think some of that has been lost. Some of that incentive, desire, or whatever, some of that has just been lost because things have become just too easy.
That's true. I remember the days when there was incentive for being in war bands and paying attention to mechanics such as going after oil, maintaining, covering the posts, and so forth. There's a lot of intricate movement, and you don't have that now because people have just gotten lazy. There's a few war bands that still, pay attention to those things, but you just don't see it often. It's very, very rare.
Well, let me ask another question of both bombling and No Life, and this is just sorry, this is just a personal curiosity. I just want to hear what you have to say. That it's not a earth-shattering or pressing issue. It's just a curiosity. But when you guys are leading a warband and you have someone in the warband that is streaming live, what are your feelings about that?
I can go first because I did a little bit of streaming. I did it from a advertisement point of view. I actually wanted to promote people to join guilds, playing guild warbands. We did some guild versus guild back in that era, but my general approach, and I did it on my own stream because I wasn't trying to be a streamer, so I'm coming from that point of view, and I'm sure you guys will probably disagree, but I would strongly advocate to have a chat overlay to not broadcast sensitive information in terms of strategies in the realm chat, warband chat, whatever it might be. Like, not everyone has signed up to be broadcasted to the other realm. Also, it can be sensitive information in terms of, okay, we're doing a countdown now for push. The other realm doesn't need to know that information. And I would also play with a delay. But that's just, again, for the same reasons, not feeding information of our locations if we're about to do a flank.
I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry. We're in an ad break. I'm sorry.
Okay.
So nobody can hear what you're saying at the moment. But
Yeah, give it a minute. It takes 2 minutes, and then we'll
yeah,
pick up. Sorry, I didn't quite catch it. It just randomly hits.
I guess
Yeah,
my.
also,
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
yeah, also kind of need to head out. I'm trying to organize something for Land of the Death, try to help the order situation in Land of the Death. And last time it seemed to spark some waves of people actually understood the value of playing the map, understanding the two BO chains, and just doing the outskirts. Like, now more guilds are signing up for helping with the outskirts and capping the BOs instead of just flopping in the middle. So see if we can get something good going on the order side
Yeah.
of Land of the Death.
I love Land of the Dead. I really do. So, but if you got to take off, man, I appreciate it. I appreciate you coming in.
10 minutes or so I still got some time.
Okay.
We'll get to wrapping up after this ad break's done. Finish up what you're discussing, because I know people.
Yeah, because I'd like to hear what
No
Nolife has to say too. But
Just let me know when the ad break's over.
Now you're the ad break's still on at the moment, but he was advertising Taco Bell. Now I'm hungry. Jeez. Taco Bell's my one fast food weakness, man. I can skip McDonald's and Wendy's and all those places, but if I walk past the Taco Bell, I'm in trouble.
Should be back live in about 20 seconds. And again, guys, I am streaming to both my platforms.
Nice. How's that for your PC? Is it creating a lot of lag when you're in game? Also?
No, it's actually running pretty smooth, oddly enough. And we're back live. Sorry for the interruption, guys.
That's okay. I was going to say we're live once again, and this is the RoR Podcast. And just before the break, Bombling was discussing, just how brilliant he thinks all of my points have been today. But we got cut off, and nobody heard that. So we're going to talk about. He was talking about. What were you talking about? Like 3 minutes ago.
We were talking about having streamers in warbands or PvP
Right. Sorry.
So just from my personal point of view, and I know a lot of the streamers disagree with this, and that's fine, but I was not trying to be a streamer, I was just trying to advertise the action and just having the VOD option for myself. But having a streamer in anything I'm running, I would ask them to have a delay, so people cannot see the exact timing of a morale drop, a big channel. If we're in the middle of a fight, people who are roaming on the same zone, they cannot see we are down in the fight, and then they'll run down and clean up that fight while we're in a fight, just for those logical reasons. And the same for having a delay and a chat overlay. So that was my reasoning for the question.
Well, I agree 100% on a chat overlay. I use pictures of fantasy women on my stream, little block that I put up. But here's one thing, before I go to Nolife here real quick. In my streaming activities over time, this is what I've discovered, is that Okay, if you do not use a delay, people complain. If you use a delay, people complain. Either that the delay isn't long enough or it's too long. And so over time, I just decided, you can't make people happy. You're never going to make everybody happy. So do what makes you happy. And although I do agree with you that the delay does, of course, benefit a war band. If you're going to be in a war band, and there are people who feel strongly about that. So, but I wanted to throw that in real quick. That you're never going to you're never going to please everyone in a
Yeah,
situation like this.
and I think it just falls back to when we talked about having AFKs in a warband. It's up to the warband leader to make sure he's gathering whatever he or she wants to make out of the warband that they're running, and their rules, their house, their rules. So if they don't want a streamer because they don't want that extra attention that might bring to the warband fights, I mean, that's just their choice.
Yeah. Yeah, I can deal with that. Okay, nolife, your thoughts, please.
Yeah, you're kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't. I think it comes down to a lot of like, what sort of warband is it? If it's a thrown together, like what we see now with a lot of the warbands, which are just thrown together to farm renown, it shouldn't matter because the warband doesn't actually matter. They're not trying to do organized proper content. I can't say that. Like most of the warbands I see nowadays, they're not Discord, they're not guild based, they're not actually like I wouldn't class them as an organized warband. So I personally wouldn't see why would you care if you ran a delay if the people aren't actually caring about even trying to even make a 222, for example. But when it comes to like an organized one where you're in Discord or it's a guild or it's an organized thing, then I believe you kind of have to run a delay. You have to like it'll be like a courtesy to the people you're playing with to run a delay if everyone is making the effort to be in like a Discord and to be in an organized guild type content, then I think you'll be I don't think you're being fair on the people you're with to like broadcast, as what bombing was saying, like free information to get your friends farmed, because we all know that people snipe and it's just free information. So yeah, yeah, if you're in Discord and you're in a guild warband, I believe you should be running it just to be the common courtesy. But then my big complaint is people not splitting the comms of their Discord, which goes back to what bombing was saying as well. It's like the people aren't signing up to be on your stream. You haven't asked for consent. You haven't asked for anything like that. When I come across a lot of streamers nowadays, they are jumping in people's Discords in a warband, broadcasting the whole Discord as well. And I think a lot of, like I'd say, a good 80% of the people in the warband don't even know that there's a streamer streaming, and they don't even know that the streamer is streaming the Discord conversations as well, where people have got like a sort of an expectation of privacy or the common courtesy to be like,
Well, I would
be told.
in my defense, I will say, because in the past I've been guilty of that. I suppose I have sometimes streamed when I've been in a Discord, but I have always asked beforehand. I've always said, "Hey, I'm streaming. Do you guys want me to stay out of Discord or what?" I've always asked, and
Yeah, there
gotten
should
an
be the
answer
very
one
least,
way or
like
another. Yeah.
like give
So
them the common courtesy, like, hey, I'm streaming, like the comms are live. Do you guys want to be?
yeah,
Do you guys
exactly.
have an
I've
issue?
asked that question,
That's
and
Yeah,
getting burned though. I will also say this real quick. Getting burned on that, as far as streaming in Twitch, when you're in a warband and Discord, is a two-way street. Because again, I was streaming one night, a guild warband started up. I asked if I could come in. I told them I was streaming. Everybody said, "Yeah, no problem, no problem, no problem." And then the language and the conversation took a nosedive into super gutter territory, and I thought, okay, and so I left because of that. Okay, because I want to, when I'm streaming, I want to try to have fun. That's the whole point. If you're not going to have fun, why bother? So that's my whole point. And I thought, okay, well, that was just as disrespectful to me as a streamer. That was just as disrespectful to me as a streamer coming in and streaming and not bothering to tell anybody, right? So that's a personal note. I understand,
Yeah.
but I just see it as a two-way street. So
I agree with that. And just to round up the whole warband talk, I think that's up to everyone getting involved with any warband action, is that if you're a warband leader, you have your own choice. Like, you can form the warband the way you want, but also if you're joining a warband, you're free to leave if you don't like the content and join another warband or form your own. So that's like my conclusion for the topic.
okay,
That's
all right.
that's why I keep my Discord muted and my chat covered. The only person anyone and the only people my stream ever hear talking is me. And I even
Yeah,
tell the pugs I'm like, I am streaming, so if you don't want me here, say so now. Don't wait till later, because if you try to say, oh, I'm gonna call you out on stream and say, nope, here's the convo.
Well,
Yeah,
I'll throw in one more point. I'm sorry, because some people listening to this may be asking the question. Why would you even want to stream the Discord chat? And I've always had a reason for that too, and it's because of the video business. I've been making Warhammer videos since I think it was toward the end of the Vietnam Wars when I started making Warhammer videos. But the best Warhammer videos, some of the best ones that I've put up on my channel, have included Discord, because if you have the chat logs, the audio chat logs that you can embed in your video, it makes for better video. Now, is that a large concern? No, but it's true. It makes your videos get much more views if you can actually hear the people talking about what was happening at the time that you captured the video. And that was always my motivation. I wasn't trying to, out anybody or screw anybody over or embarrass anybody. Those were never my motivations. I just did it because I thought it made for better streaming and I thought it made for better videos. So someone else was about to speak. Please go ahead.
I was just going to say, like, I think a lot of people don't split the Discord because they don't know how. I
Well,
run
that's
like
true too.
virtual I split the sound through the different things so I can like be in, so I literally mute the Discord on my stream. This is one of the reasons why I like do solo content now. I pretty much do solo content because people are like, oh, why do you run a delay? It's like, oh, because I was doing all the warband stuff, and like it's been a couple of years since I've done warband stuff because of how much it became a hassle. Like, I had to run a delay. People would complain in my stream like, why you're running a 2-minute delay, and it's like, well, because I'm organized content. And then it's like, well, then I'd split my bloody Discord, and then people are like, oh, why have you split your Discord? And it's like, it just became easier for me to do solo content. So you probably see me running around like I just basically do solo content now.
I've had the exact
it's
same
like, well,
experience. I've had the exact same experience. I run a delay. People complain. I don't want to run. I don't run. It's like I said. There's always going to be people that aren't happy with what you're doing. So yeah, I feel your pain, brother.
yeah. So I just changed the content that I do. It's like, well, I'm not having fun with the warbands, because of how the mentality changed and how draining it became. Because I'm, I find it hard on the best of times to keep my temper and to be with a whole bunch of people that are not even caring. I'll just say that taking the mickey. I just feel like I'm wasting my time. And it's like, well, like, I'm not here to make content for you. I'm here. I want to play a game with people that want to push buttons. Like, push buttons, please. Like, don't. I'm not here to lead you around just so you can farm out to get to 80. Like, do you guys want to actually push buttons? Like, why? And then it loops back to the whole mentality of players nowadays. And why are they joining warbands? What's the incentive for joining warbands? Why is it so lucrative to just do AFK warbands comparing to like, why are people not wanting to do the path of least resistance with human nature? Like, we've lost the campaign. So now like the zones are pretty much just open air scenarios now. So people don't really care about this, but the agency is gone. Like if people aren't actually caring about the zone to begin with, people aren't going to put as much effort in because they don't lead to the cities anymore because they removed the campaign. And as I say, then like the guilds and the alliances don't have like any agency, so they're not the ones making the 24 mans. Anyone can make them, and then when you log on, there's a whole bunch of people that will make a warband just so they can like run around the zone and farm small groups. They're not actually trying to do like a proper one, and then when we have a low player base, all of a sudden like the pool of players gets swallowed up. So I've been in like zones where I'm like roaming around going, what, there's like 2 warbands but there's no one around, and they're basically just those Zerg blobs of unorganized pugs that are just trying to make a optimized renown farm, and then you're trying to do all the back camping. You see like, no, where is everyone? It's like I see no one.
Well,
And they're just all in one spot.
Hopefully, with the issues that you're talking about, hopefully there's some material in here that in the entire podcast that Rubius and others can take and sort of address those concerns. And I think that's probably the goal. All right, Toth, what I want to do here, please, is we got 30 minutes
Yeah.
until Land of the Dead starts. Bombling has mentioned he's got, he wants to do a few things before all that. So let me just go ahead and say I appreciate you, Toth, once again having me come in to help you co-host. Special thanks to Bombling for coming in and talking with us. Special thanks to Nolife for coming in and talking with us. I do appreciate it, really. I do. I appreciate you guys coming in and putting some stuff out there for consideration, and I hope you will consider doing it again. And so, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and all the ships at sea, I will now turn things back over to the man himself and see you guys in game. Thank you very much.
Appreciate you guys for showing up. I'm gonna try and get in on this Land of the Dead and stream that for you guys, depending on if I get in. But if I can't, then I'll go ahead and probably raid out and hand you guys off to somebody else in the RoR community. But I do want to thank everybody for tuning in and weighing in on the conversations. I always post each podcast up on my YouTube, so usually give me about an hour, 2 hours after stream to get it up there, so anybody that misses it can watch it. I also send a copy to the devs so that they can listen in on what you guys say and have said so far. That's why I push these podcasts like I do. It's not about the viewer numbers for me. This is about the lines of communication between the community and the devs. Something I've relentlessly heard the community fuss about, saying we need more communication. Well, you got your opportunity, plus the devs are planning to be on the show more, so hopefully that will facilitate more questions and more information about what they're working on can be shared with you guys, so you can be more informed about what is going on behind the scenes. But time will tell on all of that.
Can I leave a final message?
Go ahead.
Okay, so this is like, if the devs do watch this, my dream is basically, I would love it if they bring back agency, like give us more agency and make people care. I feel it's like really, I get sad when I see the state and how people, this is such an awesome game. It's got so much potential, and it feels like, like bring back the agency. I just want them to give players agency, guilds agencies, make people care. That's what I really want, and that's what I really miss, because I love this game and I want it to be awesome, but I feel we don't, I just want, bring back the agency, please, for the love of baby Jesus, the agency.
Well, thanks for hosting, Toth, and thanks for the good topics, and I wish you guys a great rest of your day.
Appreciate you guys coming. No worries.
See ya.
You see me in zone. You see me in zone. Fair game. Later.